Absolutely, yes.
Hey, dear friends, here we have another session. This is our third session, exploring organizational commitment at profession, different level of professions we have. So in our first interview, we have interviewed a full professor from Texas Christian University, and here is another professor we have who is in famous Big Apple City. So I would let Professor Mudassar Minhas to introduce himself. Welcome, Professor. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Rashid. Thank you very much. It's honestly, it's my honor to be here and speaking to you. With the hope that this message is going to go out and benefit a lot of people and a lot of young generation. I am a full-time faculty member, Professor Mudassar Minhas at Vaughn College of Aeronautics and Technology, and I also serve as a program chair for the Electronics Engineering Technology and Electronics Engineering Technology Avionics division of the college. And so I'm not too focused on all of this. I have additional things that I do. I also do career coaching and life counseling and life coaching as well. So I've been teaching full time for about the past 10 years, so mostly a career academic. And this is, again, a wonderful opportunity to be able to have this open discussion about organizational commitment, and especially within the framework or through the lens of Islamic faith. And, I'm going to give it back to you, Dr. Abdul Rashid. And so, we can get going.
All right, thank you. That's a beautiful introduction, and we are proud of individuals who are open to, benefit academics and, learners in this field. Thank you and welcome again. So that leads to our second question, which is, do you think organizational commitment level is different for individuals in your field versus the other fields? In a sense, we are talking about academics versus non-academics, and more specific, since you are a little bit more technology, aeronautics related, how would you describe your organizational commitment?
Yes, I think that it's a function of so many different factors that includes a person's own beliefs and values and their social influences. And that includes the social or the environmental influence, that includes the work environment as well, and the nature of the industry. I mean, for example, the education industry, the way it looks like on the inside and outside could be very different from how the aerospace industry works. So there will be commonalities, but then there are going to be certain unique characteristics and traits, of aeronautical industry. So there are going to be differences. When we talk about commitment, yes, I perceive that there is a difference in the level of commitment, and that happens to do with the the rewards that one gets out of working within a given field. For example, in my particular field while teaching, it's highly satisfying for me because I can directly see how it's impacting the environment and how it's impacting the future of the generation. That, hey, if I don't teach, well, we're going to have a shortage of well-qualified workforce. And if we're going to have a shortage of well-qualified workforce, who's going to carry the burden of technological advancement moving on into the future? So that becomes a problem. So I have to be highly committed to what I'm doing, and in the process becoming better and improving and introducing new interventions and techniques and so on and so forth to ensure that I address the learning needs and the educational needs of the students, and also the skills and the knowledge needs of the industry. So it's more like a win-win situation. I can directly see the benefits of working as an academic. So yeah, when students get good grades and when they come back to me and they tell me about how they were able to secure not just one job, but they had landed an interview with 3 jobs, and they got job offers from really big names such as Lockheed Martin, NASA, the Department of Defense, and so on and so forth. And they're asking me, hey, professor, what do I do? Which one do I go for? And I say, hey, You just have to choose the one that gives you the most level of satisfaction and meaning, some sort of a meaning and sense in what is that you're going to be engaging in and what you go out and do in the industry. So if you're doing this only for the money, then there's going to be a problem. So, that helps me. That helps me a lot in terms of the intrinsic satisfaction that I get from this profession. And although there are certain professions where I feel that a person may have a hard time deriving extra salary or tangible benefits, that, hey, if let's take the case of an accountant who's working for a really large firm, okay? They probably do not interact a lot with people on a regular basis. They probably do not know how they're impacting the lives of other people in a very direct way. So it's not going to be readily evident to them. It helps to question and try to dig deeper into looking at how your part or your role fits into the entire enterprise and what does the entire enterprise stand for. And it helps to give meaning that, hey, this is some sort of a satisfaction. I'm contributing to something larger and greater than myself. And that's what I encourage my students, because that's one of the things that I found when students come back after graduating, 1 year after graduating, maybe 2 years after graduating. They come back and they ask me, hey, Professor, it's fun. And I tell them, hey, you wanted this job, didn't you? And you're making a lot of money. So what's the problem? Well, the money is there, and we get used to the salary and the promotion within 2 weeks. And then it's just, I can't draw the intrinsic benefits of engaging in certain tasks as opposed to certain other tasks. So project-oriented industries that are much more fun to students or graduates, as opposed to operational level work, whereby day in and day out, nothing changes. Okay, and they can't find much meaning in this. And over time, the satisfaction curve begins to go down. And then they question why they're not feeling satisfied and they're not feeling happy in the job that they have. So that's out there for debate, and that needs to be explored further, because it's going to be different from one industry to another industry. And Dr. Abdul Rashid, you would agree with this, that if you are going out there helping somebody directly, okay, you can derive that satisfaction, immediately. And it helps to reinforce the cycle that, yes, I'm going to keep doing this. And not only that, I'm going to keep doing this in a better way. So that's one thing. Certain industries are much more conducive to those activities as opposed to certain other industries. But I feel that all industries are really, really important. And we as individuals, we as citizens, we as Muslims, we have a responsibility and obligation to make sure that we are represented and we actually go ahead and join. So we're not supposed to be only doctors and lawyers. Okay, we need to go out there and serve in all of these different industries.
Oh, well, that is a beautiful, answer you have provided. And I think you made a very unique response, the connection between the organizational commitment and job satisfaction. You linked it pretty well. So that's
Okay.
excellent. And also you have given a hint, which would be our third question, that is faith. That is there a link between organizational commitment and individuals' faith? Especially, you have mentioned Muslim, Islamic faith. So, how do you say? Is there a link?
Uh, this is a very interesting question. Honestly, I was hoping I haven't really had it articulated well in my head. But one day, some student asked me this question, and not just to highlight that, hey, I'm doing so much and so on. Like, you help out your students, you do this, you do that. Is that really part of your job? And I thought about that, and I wondered, why is he asking me this question? I asked him, why? Why would you ask me such a question? Isn't that a benefit that I'm doing this to the students? Or like, what about you? Why don't the other professors do it? Like, okay, that's very interesting. So the simple answer, after due deliberation, after a long pause, I was able to give them that, hey, maybe it's a function of my faith and my religion. And that's pretty much it. That's how I can describe it. So going back to the question, uh, it's it's important. It's important for me to ensure that I am doing my job in the best way possible. So, yes, the first thing is that, yeah, I am legally obligated to abide by the terms of agreement or the contract that I have with my current job position. But I'm not going to be, too petty about it that, hey, you know what, I'm supposed to do this only, but not that. Yes, sometimes I can go above and beyond, and that is perfectly acceptable and encouraged in Islam. And I believe we call it ihsan. Okay, that means not only am I giving you what's rightfully due to you, but I'm providing you a little extra. Okay, just out of my religious or faith drivers. I mean, I'm driven by the faith that, hey, it would be nice. And obviously, it's not just an act that puts us into a lot of stress and undue burden. It comes with a lot of benefits, and we feel good inside. We get that satisfaction of having helped somebody achieve. For example, if I'm going to sit down with a student and work on their resume, because I do that frequently, can I refer them to the career development office? Sure. But now there are certain technicalities of the resumes that may make or break the deal for the student. And they sit down with me, Professor, help. Okay. What am I supposed to say? I'm not going to say that, hey, my job description does not say that I'm supposed to be career counseling, or I'm not certified, or I'm not qualified in doing this. Okay. We can't say that. So I sit down with them. I tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. This is what some of the keywords that you need to highlight, and so on and so forth. And then it's not like a one-time thing. They do back and forth with me. Hey, professor, I did this. Do I need to add more things? I applied to this job. Can I do something more? And so on and so forth. And sometimes it takes so long that I'm out on campus for until 10 p.m. since morning. Okay. Uh, am I going to be happy? I'm not sure. But am I going to be satisfied even when I'm fully drained and exhausted and going back? Probably yes. Probably yes. But we have to balance this discussion with additional responsibilities as well as a Muslim. So I cannot overlook some part of my personal life and say, hey, you know what, forget about my personal life, forget about my relations and my family, and let's go ahead and help the students. So it's going to be an effort, it's going to be a struggle, it has to be a balance that we have to achieve. And that's what drives me, that it's not the monetary benefits, it's not the commendation that I'm going to get from somebody or the vice president that, hey, I saw what you did. A student came back and they said that Professor Minhas is really amazing because he helped me do so on and so forth. No, it has to be driven from within you, okay? Even when nobody is watching. And the intrinsic satisfaction that comes from it, it's honestly, it's priceless. 80% of the students are never going to come back and return and say thanks. Okay, only that 20% are going to say thanks, and when they do, it means a lot to me. Okay, it's not what I look forward to, that hey, it's going to make me feel good, but it's encouraging. It's encouraging. So I get text messages too from my students. I give them my phone number, and they tell me, hey, professor, the in engineering economic analysis, you taught us so and so, that really helped me in my job, and so on. Okay, they're not obligated to come back and make me feel good, but when they do, it tells me that yes, I got to keep going. I got to keep going, and I have to make an impact. So it's really the work ethic and work principles that I have cultivated over so many years are primarily driven by Islamic faith. Okay, whereby when we talk about trade agreements, when the that we're not supposed to shortchange people. Okay, what does that mean? We're not talking about an open fruit market where people are selling and buying fruit, and you are saying to somebody who has a weighing scale that, hey, you know what, make sure that you put an extra one in here and make sure that it's balanced on the mizan, or on the scale. What we're really referring to is that do not shortchange people in the verbal agreement, written agreement, or a contract that you have with them. If I'm agreeing to teaching the students and making sure that they acquire the best and the most relevant knowledge, skills, and techniques for them to be marketable, their skills to be marketable in the industry, and they can secure employment. Yeah, that's my job, and I have to make sure that I abide by it. So I'm not going to look at the clock and say, hey, you know what, guys, today early departure because you guys are so tired, because you guys are so bored. We're like, no, 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 we're not going to do that. Okay, so we call it, the Dr. Abdul Rashid, we call it the halal way of doing it. Want to make sure that they get what they paid for, or whoever paid for, on their behalf. So just because all the students, they would love to leave, as soon as you tell them, hey, class adjourned, early departure. And that's one of the very interesting industries where people are happy when they receive less for their money. Okay, so they can leave early.
Mhm.
So I tell them, hey, right now you probably do not understand the importance of what I'm teaching you. Okay, but this time is valuable, and I'm going to make sure that I keep my word to give you what you really need. Yeah. Even if it requires me going slightly out of my way. And so in terms of academics, in terms of the lab equipment, in terms of the lab exercise, in terms of additional exercise. So this is what I do. I don't use my notes uh, perpetually. So I keep on modifying them. I keep on changing them. I incorporate new technology. I take out something that's obsolete or something, that doesn't make sense. I've had people talk to me. I mean, let's look at the other side. And Dr. Abdul Rashid, in your experience, you might have noticed this, okay? That the other side says, why do we have to do it? Well, it's not part of my job. Well, this is working just fine. I'm teaching too many courses. Well, nobody is forcing you to teach so many courses. You got to be effective in what you do, okay? And be world class at what you do. And that's what I'm going to, honestly, this is what I'm going to encourage the young generation. Do not try to look for shortcuts or loopholes in the system, okay? You somehow end up violating your identity when we do this, especially as Muslims, okay? When we shortchange people, when we try to get away with something and say, oh, you know what, I did this, and that's going to yield me some monetary benefits, or everyone else does it. Everyone else at my job does it. We just sit there idle, watch Netflix, Professor. And I did not condemn that immediately. A student came to me. It was like, oh, I'm working for so-and-so government agency. I'm not going to name that. And we don't have much work, so we sit there and watch Netflix. And I asked them, is there an opportunity for you to learn something while you're sitting idle? Is there an opportunity for you to apply your skills and do something for the organization while you're sitting there? I was like, yes, we do have the opportunity, but we don't want to do it because nobody does it. And if you do it, they're going to demand more from us, and so on and so forth. So, so I try to stay away from that. I feel that it violates us on the inside, as in our identity as Muslims.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's an excellent answer. I mean, what you said, I found in my research when I did many years ago, by using a scale called Islamic work ethic scale.
okay,
In the management, that is very unique scale to measure an individual's work ethic, and also it can link with the organizational commitment, which is our topic. So you did a fantastic job to linking a work ethic, especially an individual's work ethic, with Islamic faith, and linking with organizational commitment. I mean, that's a fantastic, whatever I have seen in my years of research and work experience, you have articulated in your few minutes of talk. Super.
thank you. I'm really honored that it was well articulated. This is something that I live day in and day out, and I'm glad that you're also doing that, and you've conducted a lot of meaningful research on it. That's really remarkable. And hopefully the message goes out to more people, because when we talk about Islam, this is what hooks people a lot. That when we talk about Islam, it's not a religious obligation that we have, that we go and pray. Prayer is only part of a reminder and a preparation. It's the rest of the life that we live the entire day. That prayer and that faith has to be reflected in that life, in those personal dealings. Okay, whereby the usual conventional notion is that, yeah, you go pray to whichever religious persuasion you belong to, and then the day-to-day dealings are different, so keep them separated. We just can't do that. In Islam, we just can't do that. It becomes a part of our character, our personality, our identity, that we have to integrate all of these excellent, great teachings of Islam into our personality and live them every day. And it's not a burden. Honestly, I have felt that it has helped me achieve a lot of satisfaction, a lot of happiness, and finding a lot of meaning or meaningfulness in my responsibility as an academic. All I'm thinking about is future of the nation, making sure that these students, not only are they making the salary, but also contributing to a greater cause. So
That's great. Yeah, I think our audience will really appreciate the information they are getting from you. This is an excellent information for the learners as well as the practitioner who are in the field practicing. So they would be able to remind themselves, himself or herself, to be a little bit more effective, the job performance, and how to best utilize their time at the organization they are serving. So that's beautiful.
Dr. Abdul Rashid, my question is that what has your experience been when you have interviewed people with Islamic faith as opposed to some other faith? How do the answers or responses vary? Because as you mentioned that this was part of your dissertation, and I hope it was a qualitative research.
Well, it was actually quantitative research.
Okay.
We did have use instruments that was developed in Malaysia and here in the United States, and also we used the organizational commitment instrument that was developed by pioneers like Maudie, Allen, other researchers. So we did use multiple instruments to conduct our research at the organizational level here in the United States among various work professionals. So yeah, there were some parallel findings, and also sometimes not only the way individuals attach them toward the faith, however the actual the practice. So the questionnaire tried to find answers or feedback from the individuals who participated, what they were actually doing it. So it really helped them. It really helped them.
Okay, many different ways in which it is perfectly, in other words, this Islamic way of engaging with the work in such a way whereby you're doing it to the best that you can. And you made an excellent point that yes, I may have certain beliefs based on my religious faith, but actions are something different. Sometimes actions don't flow from them, or sometimes we're not motivated to work on them and say, yes, you know what, in an ideal scenario, this would be my faith, this would be my religious beliefs. But right now, since I don't like working for this company, so I'm not going to give them my best. So we can't have it both ways. We can't pick and choose. If we're going to call religion full authority, then we have to take it for everything that it says. We can't pick and choose certain items. That, oh, just because my boss is bad, I don't like my boss, just because I don't get recommendation or acknowledgement from my work for all the hard stuff, the hard work that I do, I'm not going to engage in it. Well, like, no, nobody's going to plant a garden in our name anytime we achieve something big. It's just part of our job. We got to keep doing it. And I believe that's what we call responsibility, and finding meaning in that responsibility, or otherwise. The flip side is that what's the alternative? What are you going to do? Sit there and not be your best, the best that you can be? I feel it's a moral obligation for us not to be the best versions that we can become in pretty much every aspect of our life at many different dimensions. Okay, so not just at one thing, but at like a well-rounded individual. And do you want me to recount some of the outcomes that I've been able to achieve with this organizational commitment? Okay, I feel
Yes,
that would be
yes,
helpful.
please. Mhm.
So student surveys, when I send out student surveys, And I tell them, hey, you know what? This is not going to be shared. You guys have graduated. It's not going to break my heart if you put down anything that's a complaint. Okay. When I receive it back, they personally thank me. That Professor Minhas, thank you very much for the guidance at that time, because at that time we did not feel that we needed it. But right now, when we're in the industry, it's really, really helpful. And the only complaint that they made was that why don't other professors do coaching and counseling and encourage students to be the best that they can be? They don't do it. And I'm not saying that it's a universal phenomenon. There are going to be a lot of professors who do this, and then there's a whole bunch of professors who don't do it. That's one of the things that I found out. When they come back to me, they're looking for a different job. When they have additional offers, when they have a promotion offer and they come and ask me, hey, do I take this promotion package? Do I negotiate for something better? What should I do? So I go ahead and coach them. I guide them. If they can't come to on campus, they can call me all the time. So becoming available to them, it's more work for me, is it not? It puts a lot of work. It creates a lot of work and it puts a lot of burden on me. But I like the idea of helping them out. But once again, as I mentioned, there has to be a balance. Then representing them, going out to certain events, certain workshops, certain competitions like technical competitions, helping students prepare for the technical competitions, helping students prepare for presentations when they have to go out there and talk to people and present their paper, giving them a first look on their draft of the paper, so they don't feel that, hey, you know what, nobody cares about this, nobody cares about our future and so on. Why should I care about my future and so on? So I always think about the alternative, that if they're not happy in their academic experience, how can I imagine them becoming highly satisfied in their work field? And then the environment and the community ends up suffering. I mean, it has like cascading effect. So and we have to analyze it at the individual level as well. That is that. And then sometimes, uh, students who want to do or learn more. Now, what am I going to do if they want to learn more? They passed my class with an A, but hey, professor, I want to learn more. What do I do? Well, you can come to the avionics and the electronics labs and I'll set up the equipment for you and I'll give you more equipment. If you need to buy additional equipment to make it work or come up with a new contraption or new training aid or something new, feel free to ask away. I will open up the labs for you. I'll sit there. I'll work with you guys. Okay. And I'll give you my guidance and my support and my advisement. That's another way that I help other students. When the department asks me to serve on certain committees, okay, I'm not obligated to. I can always say no. But when I see that there's a benefit, an intrinsic benefit for the students, okay, and it's going to improve their futures, I go ahead and jump on the opportunity and I contribute to those committees as well. So that's something that I call part of service, and I feel that it's highly significant. And we discussed how we're not supposed to shun away from responsibility and making ourselves available. Uh, I know a lot of questions can arise from this. That, hey, where do you draw the line then? Where do you stop and say, hey, you know what? No, 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 I'm not gonna do this. So I act as a coach or a guide. That means your, I'm not your bestie. I'm not your buddy. I'm not your friend. I'm going to be friendly and informal with the students, but at the same time, I'm going to hold them responsible and accountable for what they need to do. Because right now, they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to tell them how important it is to be a world-class technician or a world-class engineer, or else these aircraft won't be able to fly safely from point A to point B. So look at the consequences. And even if you omit a single step in performing aircraft maintenance, imagine the magnitude of consequences it can manifest into. So I keep telling them, but then when they go out there in the industry, they look at it, they do it, they work it, they experience it. So when they experience it, now they come back with more questions. Like, hey, yes, everything that you said was valid. What do we do now? So that's something that I find is very satisfying, fulfilling part of my job. And again, once again, it is driven by my faith. Yeah.
Oh,
Dr. Abul.
that's yeah, yeah, that's super. I think, our audience would definitely appreciate the examples, the experiences you have shared, definitely. And those are in academics, they would be able to, probably a little bit more emphasize on their time usage. I know in the academic area we have very little time. However, somebody who have available time and resources, we also have our family life, so
Yes.
hopefully they would do a little bit more to strengthen their organizational commitment level. All right, then the next one is the question, very personal question, is your organizational commitment type. So in general we have like three different types of organizational commitment: effective, continuous, and normative. So most of the individuals I have come across, they associate themselves with effective commitment and normative commitment, or one or other. But very few would be continuous commitment. How would you categorize your commitment level or type?
I would say it's actually, I'm going to be honest about it. It is a little bit, it's a little bit of continuance and a whole lot of effective.
Mhm.
So commitment. So yeah, I'm kind of emotionally associated with the profession that I am in, whether or not I like my boss, or whether my boss does not make my work environment too harsh for me to continue on. So as long as that's happening, that's fine, because it's more than it's more than the organization itself. So I'm kind of committed to the profession, and that's where I find myself, effective. It's at the emotional level. I draw positive emotional benefits from working in a position where, honestly, I don't feel like I'm the boss while I'm standing in the class, and all those classes are arranged in such a way. But excuse me, there was, I'm going to pause. Organizational commitment. That means we're working as team members with all the other elements of the organization, and it's like an entire enterprise that coexists. So it's not one department, one division against another, because we have to look at the overall picture, that how is the entire enterprise benefiting from your role or your part at the top level. So if I'm instituting a new lab exercise, I just want to give you a small example, that I buy some radar equipment and I put that through. I want to see how the entire firm or the organization is going to benefit from this. Yeah. And when we do that, we see the benefits. So the PR department is going to jump in, and they're going to make a video of it. They're going to post it on social media and tell them, hey, now we have this capability. It's such a fun course. You can take this course. And when you take this course, you go out there in the industry and you get employed in a very good role, and you make a lot of money. Okay. And how that's a strategic fit for the organization, and so on and so forth. So I find that with the level of commitment, especially effective commitment, you are much more open to join these initiatives. Sometimes you can propose these initiatives. You can come up with the idea, hey, how about we do this? How about we do that? How about we, and I have served on so many committees that are kind of quasi-related or indirectly related to what I do existingly. And I was able to contribute many, many positive things to these initiatives. And if I'm not really emotionally or positively emotionally committed to the organization, I might not be willing to. So if I'm able to, but I may not be willing to go out there and serve in a capacity like that, because it could be just my beliefs, that I believe that it's not going to yield a certain outcome, that I believe that I don't owe the organization anything more. I'm already doing a lot. I believe that just because they don't acknowledge what I'm doing, I am not going to go ahead and do it. So I have to find a better meaning in this type of engagement. Uh, and what else? What else can we talk about this? So yeah, you mentioned proactive work ethics, how I interact with team members within the department, with the other faculty members, in a highly respectful manner, really respectful. Even if people who are not directly reporting to me and they, we try to have an open forum whereby everyone can share their views and so on, and that's uh, that's part of the effective commitment, because I found that especially faculty members or even people in the organization, if they're not responsible for reporting to a particular person, or they're not responsible to be interact with a certain person, they're not even gonna pass by and say hi to you. Okay, it's like, I don't know this guy, I don't care, he's not my boss, he doesn't sign my performance review, so I don't care who the person is. Okay, but as part of the environment, as part of the enterprise, the community, the entire community, I feel it's like an obligation, especially we as Muslims, that we want to make sure that people usually say that, like, I don't have to be nice to that person. Well, why not? Why can't you be nice to a certain person? What is that going to take away from you? What are you ending up saving? Okay, your empathy, your compassion, your niceness for other people that matter, who give you certain benefits in return. So we can't think like that. So we're going to put out uh, goodness for everyone. Some people are going to take it, some people are not going to take it, but that really shouldn't change how we uh, carry ourselves, especially as Muslims. So yeah, I get involved with. I'm pretty cool with all the departments, even though sometimes there are certain rivalries between departments, even the department heads. So they're like, oh, you know what? Don't talk to that guy. Don't share this. And I was like, no. At the end of the day, these are human beings. Okay. At the end of the day, I have an obligation to be civil and nice and respectful of what they're doing. Okay. So I can't be just taking sides and having organizational rivalry within the company. So that is mostly, honestly, that's mostly driven by this effective commitment, which is of course driven by my beliefs and my faith.
Yeah, yeah, those are very beautiful examples. Of course, there are some situations where, if you are working on a confidential project, you don't share your ideas or thinking unless somebody sign NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Those are special circumstances. But in Frank, what you are mentioning, definitely, you are part of the organization, you belong to the organization, you love it, you want it to grow, you want its brand to be reaching outside everywhere, you are fully invested, and this is part of your life too. You cannot separate yourself from this organization. So this organization is part of your love, it's like your baby.
Okay. So when you, Dr. Abdul Rashid, when you did interviews and you found out that continuous commitment, what were some of the drivers? I'm kind of curious. What were some of the drivers for continuous commitment for people who answered that?
Oh, well, sometimes there are some organizations that seems like they have glass ceilings. You cannot, go higher level. Or there are some organizations which, treating you as if like you are their liability. They paying you too much. You are just overburdened into the payroll. Or sometimes there can be age discrimination. Somebody is there for long term, if they can replace you, they might be able to bring somebody on board, half of your salary or something like that. There are some criteria, unique situations, and a type of organization, the leadership style, human resource policy, many other things involved, where an individual might feel like, hey, if I get out of this organization right now, I might not be able to find a job that would match my salary or my vacation time or my respect or my position, because I need to go retrain myself. I need to go here and there, a lot of other things that might lean towards somebody saying like, continuance, you afraid of losing what you have than gaining, from your organizational commitment to other, type of organization than what you are. So that's why like you are kind of staying there until you retire just to say goodbye.
Very well said.
Yeah.
So, what kind of advice would you have for somebody who's feeling that way. They're not finding much meaning in what they're doing. And
Yeah, it's type of business you are in. There are some businesses which have a high growth potential, and there are some type of businesses which you don't have that much growth potential. I can, mention one type. If you talk about the mainframe industry, for example, in the mainframe industry, it is, declining. There's some prediction that it might not last in the next few decades. There will be no mainframe because servers are getting more popular and inexpensive, less people, remotely control, many other benefits of moving off mainframe industries to the distributed industry. So somebody working at the mainframe industry as a programmer, project manager, or different other things, their skill sets, their other knowledge that might not be appreciated in the outside of that industry. And if they want to excel into different type of technologies other than the expertise they have, they need to retain themselves, and that's going to time consuming, financially challenged, and of course you need to have the motivation to go and learn new things. So this is based on my experience. I have come along, but there might be other things, which you don't have a future. You are hitting the dead end. You don't see any kind of progress. Just being there, doing your day-to-day work without really committing somebody, yourself. Might be situation like that.
okay, very well put. I mean, you counted. I believe your dissertation work is still fresh in your mind. That's why you were able to recount so many of these factors.
Yeah.
So off the top of your head, which is good, very thoroughly.
Thank you. And then the last question we have for you, Professor Minhas, is what would be your suggestion for the new graduates, who are coming? I know this is a pandemic time. We have so many millions of individuals do not have job. However, just keep that aside, when everything's open, things get normal, these individuals who are coming off school with their bachelor, masters, so certificates, they're going to have ample opportunities to apply, get job. But what we have seen in recently, there is a high turnover, not only here in the United States or developed countries, even where we have offshore to India, Philippines, or some of the countries that got independent from Soviet Union, those kind of countries, there is a high turnover for individuals. They do not stick with one organization more than 1 year or 2 years because they try to get experience and then move to another company for pay increase or more higher positions. So it seems like they have very little organizational commitment. How would you, describe your suggestion for them? What should they do? I mean, not blaming anyone based on the situation. No, everyone wants better for them.
Yes, yes. So it's really interesting, as you mentioned earlier. It could be a function of so many different factors, maybe organizational factors themselves. That yeah, sometimes the opportunities are not available. So you want to advance, you want to apply your knowledge and your skill set in a certain different capacity, but the opportunity is just not there. You want to institute certain initiatives that you feel that is going to highlight your knowledge and your skills and your experience, but the opportunities are not available, or those initiatives are not acknowledged. They're shot down. So you will be now you would be motivated to jump boats and go to another company where there are plenty of opportunities, because that's like a psychological and personal development need that individuals have, that they want to be perceived as competent. Okay. And sometimes they want to prove it to themselves by doing something remarkable and saying, wow, I did this. And sometimes they want to show it to or demonstrate it to the environment or to other people. Okay. And that's how we advance as a society, with recognition. I mean, there has to be an open level of recognition that, yeah, so and so person did so, and it's really remarkable. Hopefully it's a lesson for everyone else. So if you're not finding those opportunities, they are going to be looking for additional jobs. What I really don't want to encourage anybody or a fresh graduate to jump boats just because you find that it's a larger company than the one that you're already working in, There could be certain benefits, but there are a whole bunch of benefits right here in a smaller company compared to a big firm. And the analogy that I use is you don't, I usually ask them what their preference is. Do they want to be a small fish in a big pond, or do they want to be a big fish in a small pond? Okay. So I tell them in smaller companies, they can actually influence a lot of things and a lot of initiatives and a lot of engagement, practices and so on and so forth, as opposed to a large firm where there could be really steep communication channels and bureaucracy before something is put into effect. And that would end up satisfying their learning and their professional needs, and adding to the variety of their work experience. And it's not going to be unidimensional anymore. That, hey, if I get hired as a programmer, I remain a programmer for the rest of my life. So the work environment has, of course, shifted a lot. So everyone is looking for well-rounded individuals who have experience, knowledge, and skills in a whole bunch of different, many different aspects of a given profession. And that's what I would encourage them to do. So money should not be the sole motivator. Of course, money is the answer to a whole bunch of problems. Okay, but if it comes to job satisfaction, it's probably not going to come very much from money. As long as, of course, you want to make sure that you can handle your financial obligation. I'm not saying that you can't pay your bills and you still don't want to jump boats and get to a job that's going to pay you more. You would want to do that. And so no growth opportunities, as you mentioned, if you don't have it, if you don't perceive it, you can't influence it. That means sometimes all it takes is ask. And I've seen students coming back to me and telling me, hey, professor, it worked. Like, what worked? Well, you told me to talk to the supervisor or the manager or the vice president and ask them to create a position for me. And that's exactly what they did. So they could not make me a manager. They could not leave me here. So they created an intermediate position for me. Okay. So now I'm here. I'm running the show at a certain level. I'm supervising a whole bunch of clients. So sometimes all it takes is asking, but in a smart way, by showing what's in it for the organization. And you talk to serious people, and they will find value in it, and they're going to make something happen. Okay. And they're going to allow you to go ahead and apply your talent and your skills to these these proposals and propositions. The other thing that I can think of is students or graduates, usually they find that they have certain personal reasons why they don't find meaning in a certain work. And in the name of, when I ask them, hey, is your boss a bad person? I mean, you have a problem with the boss? Like, no, not really. Okay. Is the salary low? No, is the work environment a sweatshop? No, it's long hours sometimes. Sometimes you get time off and so on, but it's not that bad. Then why aren't you engaged in your work? Okay. And potentially the answer to that is that you're not finding a higher level or order of meaning in your vocation. Okay. You're not finding that sense, or that you're not finding that your responsibility has a higher meaning. It's not just a means to an end, and the end is that you make a salary and you go buy a car and then you get a house, and then these are all material benefits. And what then? Okay. So eventually the question comes to, what then? I mean, is that the only instrumental benefits that I'm going to draw for my job? And the answer to that is probably not. That's not going to be a really good long-term strategy. Roughly speaking, it's going to lead you to, like going through the motions, soldiering around day in and day out, and watching over your shoulders, like, what the hell am I doing here? This is a stupid job. I get to hear that kind of stuff from students, and tell them, no, you're contributing to the economy, you're contributing to the society. You are responsible for a lot of work that is generated. That means people stay employed. That means people don't end up on the streets. And that means people do not become a public charge. Yeah. And that means when you pay your taxes, you are injecting into the political system, the educational system, the security system, and the justice system, and so on and so forth. Look at this. This is how we human beings organize ourselves into societies, for not to keep it a certain way, and of course not to let it drop or deteriorate to a different to a lower level, but to eventually somehow progressively advance. So at least find that level of meaning, and then you're going to feel. It takes some practice, and then you're going to feel that you end up loving your job, because that's also sometimes associated with, do you love your job? That's a very broad question.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do a factors analysis.
Mm-hmm. 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 All right, great. I think our fresh graduate, they would love to hear, academics advice and of course, experience-based advice from this show that we are producing, and hopefully that will, benefit them to fully integrate themselves into the organization that they would be joining, and also, materialize all the opportunities that comes in their way, so they can fully bring success in their career. So I think we have almost at the end of our show. I really appreciate your experience sharing with our audience, and may God Almighty bless you, and we really thank you for your contribution.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Abdul Rashid. You're doing a great service to the community, and let's continue with this. If there's any other capacity that I can serve in and help out the community, I wish if this was a live session with the students actually present there, we could take a whole bunch of questions and so on. But this it has been my honor, and it's a humbling experience for me that I was able to serve in a certain capacity. Uh, Feel free to reach out for any additional needs or anything else that you find worthwhile. And I'm here at your disposal. And I wish you all the best in your, professional and service pursuits.
Thank you, Professor Minhas. Yeah, one day we will make it a live show, and we'll have taking questions in the live show, and that is our vision. One day we should do that. Thank you again. Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.